All right, we're unmuted.
Cheyenne, Garcia.
That's my word.
Great. Okay, John, you're set?
Yes, all set.
Welcome to the Hartland Selectboard meeting for June 17th. Our first order of business are the select board minutes for June 3rd. I would entertain a motion to accept the June 3rd regular minutes as well as the executive session.
So moved.
Thank you, Jim. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tom. Any discussion?
Minor correction. In the regular minutes, item 1, it has me making and seconding the motion, so the process needs to be different than there. More of those votes.
For the orders, okay. Second. Probably Tom.
Sure.
Okay.
And I just have general questions. Actually, never mind, you already answered the question. I'll track that.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Going on to the warrants or accounts payable up through today, June 17th.
So I move the pay the accounts payable up through June 17th.
Thank you, Clyde. Is there a second?
Oh, something.
Thank you, Jim.
I see that a lot of yellow on this one.
Yeah, sure. Me too.
I thought there might be. Yeah.
So the first one might be the easy one. Green Mountain Power, lots of small bills, but that looks like it's the same meters as Martinsville potentially. Is that just like an adjustment?
No, so we are getting billed. There's like a surcharge on for Martin. So Martin called GMP about this. There's like a surcharge on the hydro bill now from Green Mountain Power.
So the rules changed. The 10-year period was up last December for us, same thing with Green Mountain Power. So now Green Mountain Power charges a full rejuvenation fee to help people that don't have a fund to help people that have trouble paying their bills.
There's nothing to do with electricity.
No, there's nothing to do with the actual
I
power itself.
refuse to pay it until they take down all the poles that no longer have power lines on them.
So Jay Bowery was in last week and I showed him it, and he's gonna see if he can somehow calculate those into kilowatt hours and take care of it for us.
Okay.
John, I think later on in the budget it's explained, but on page 1, the library architects ADA study.
Yes.
So we received a grant for $4,000 and we received a bill for
$4,600. The library knew when so to be clear, the library received a grant to do the ADA audit for $4,000. They knew going in that there would be a $600 fee on top of that. So
okay,
that's what that $600.
So that was our cost then, the 600.
Yeah, the library's cost. Yeah.
Okay.
Again, do another one. I think this is page 40. 1999 for a lawn tractor. Okay.
That is a new. Rob needed a new mower for summer mowing.
Okay, so it's actually a mower that we purchased.
That is a mower that we purchased. Yep.
For the cemeteries.
Yep.
It's a narrow.
Yep.
Okay. That's it.
So, not knowing anything about mowers, my understanding the quality of mowers from Home Depot compared to others aren't as good.
Rob did some research, provided reviews, And this was the one that fit the
Okay.
bill the best
Great, okay,
within, that stayed within the budget.
yeah, okay.
Just a future reference, they leave them outside, so that's not a good thing. The new ones are left outside, so
Oh.
sometimes there's.
At Home Depot, I was like, ours is not, it's in the barn. It better be in the barn.
Right, right. So for Joe's equipment, it looks like we're going electric with chainsaws.
So there was a request and perhaps some miscommunication between BJ and I. There was a discussion about they would like to have these battery operated chainsaws in the trucks primarily for winter use, for snow events, ice events. They don't have to fuel them. They can just take it. There's one in each truck. They take it, they use it. We've already been getting positive feedback on having them in the trucks.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
So they keep them charged.
correct. Those batteries are going to die faster in the cold.
Right.
Yes.
So, my turn? I'm
What
sure
page you on,
this is
Trace?
legit. I just really
Yeah.
want to know a little bit about the,
Trace, what page?
6 of 8,
Okay.
Reed's Truck Services. Now, so Reed is a truck service company. They're a tow company. They don't usually, do they fix vehicles?
Yes.
They do. So they fix our truck that we had broke down by running over apparently we ran over the blade.
That is the $47,000 bill, of which most of that was covered by insurance. All but $1,800, I believe, was covered by the insurance payment for that.
So you guys get the insurance check and so
Back in March.
So this is the final, this is the invoice from that. And then for where it says truck 14, that is the 550. That's the transmission. That's,
14's the all-wheel drive. That's the transmission.
oh, sorry. That is the all-wheel drive, the 5
So truck number 14.
is the all-wheel drive.
The maintenance,
What's the maintenance for 47,000?
is that the fix from the accident?
Yes.
And then in
Oh,
addition, we have a transmission that went bad for another 10 grand.
And we think that was unrelated to the accident.
So I called them.
They think it's unrelated.
And asked them to call the adjuster and say, hey, you know what? This seems kind of odd. And they went back to the adjuster and the adjuster said it had nothing to do with the accident.
And the towing was half the cost of a rebuild of a transmission, 5 grand. Something's not right there.
There's 2 towings in there.
There's, yeah,
One tow was 880.
No, it says number 14 tow was 5,139.
It didn't say any like 2 records to pick the thing up off the blade.
14,000 total for towing that truck.
After the accident.
Which truck's number 5?
Number 5 is the 2019 10-wheeler.
They must have been towing it out when they got off the road up on Densmore.
No, on
Cream pot.
Cream
Cream
pot.
pot.
Parked on the road and couldn't get around.
Should we get AAA?
might not be sufficient at this point.
So it's now operable? The truck?
The
Truck is working.
most of the trucks are operable now. Yes.
What about our truck of distinction that we asked about last week? Last meeting.
It is in a different location. We will come to that.
Was that at $5,139 to move it to a different location?
No, we drove it to a different location.
Okay.
Yeah.
on a lighter topic.
Lighter?
I'm so frustrated with these trucks. The same page 6, the $9,800 and something for 17-acre woods. Is that near completion? Do we know?
Yes, I don't know if it's near completion, but the company billed me for it. And I spoke with them and they've been working on it all summer, so I have to assume it is near completion. So that was approved in 2022 and I held the payment all this time until somebody came up with a.
Sure.
So for us newbies,
That was our share of the 17-acre wood project that's happening behind the school.
And our
Out of the
total,
ARPA funds.
Correct.
total share was 10.
Correct. Our total share was 10,000. we got this bill for
I saw it
98.33.
last year and they were working hard on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just made a note that I'd like to arrange a walkthrough. to
That'd be
see.
nice.
Yeah, when it's done, and I can request that with Lindsay in the school.
Wonderful name for a swamp.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
Maybe, just curious, what's a knife bolt nut class?
Where page is that next? I actually talked about that one.
Yep.
Yes, those are blades. Those are blades. I had the same question when I saw it.
Blades for like.
Those are replacement, like greater.
Those are
blades and
blades
stuff?
for the roadside mower.
Oh, okay.
Yep. It will not say knife bolt, not clamp on the next time we purchase that.
The VLCT insurance payment, the total was like $23,000. Is that an annual payment or?
The workers' comp.
So we used to pay annually, they went to quarterly 3 years ago.
So it's costing us $100,000 a year for.
So two different workmen, theirs is for office and road crew. Or-
Yeah, they separate them all in different categories. The library has their own category, the rec has their own category. I spread the bill out because we usually get a credit as being a member, and I have to add that back in and figure the bill for each department.
So it's $100,000 a year, to insure everything.
Including us.
No, wait, is that all liability insurance, just workman's comp?
It's workers' comp and fleet.
Oh, okay.
Right, and then I'll wait till the report on the budget for any of my additional questions. Any other questions? Do you have?
No, that's helpful, thank you.
Okay. All in favor of accepting the warrants / invoices up to today, 6/17, say aye. Motion passes. Thank you. I don't feel we have any need for adjustments to the agenda. Well, what we could do is we could move item 2 up before the discussion of the contract to give John a chance to come in and get out of here.
That'd be fine.
It's nice and cool in here, John. You sure you want to stay?
It is nice down here.
Okay.
You ready for me?
That's, come on up.
Hold on. Public comments. I would like to make one if there are no other. Anybody out there? Nope. I would like to extend a thank you to Bill Barrows, who's been with our highway department for nearly 20 years. And wish him luck in his next endeavors, and thank him for his service to the community. Okay, going on to old business. There is no old business. New business. Old Home Days seems to be approaching rapidly. John, thank you for coming this evening. And
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
okay,
Yeah, it always creeps up quickly. As soon as summer hits, it seems like the 4th is here. So it's a Thursday this year. We have traditionally always had our event on the actual 4th. So that's what we're scheduled for. Parade will be 10 a.m. We had made the adjustment from 11 a.m. to 10 a.m. 4 or 5 years ago on a very, very hot forecast to keep anybody marching in the parade out of the sun. So 10 a.m. is our start time for the parade. The parade was the biggest discussion point at the Old Home Day meeting. I think concerns for driving appropriately with vehicles that have been in the parade. I think this was the second time, and previous time probably close to 10 years ago, that we've had people doing things like doing circles or
Burning rubber.
or spinning their tires and such. So had met with John, and there was a discussion at a rec committee meeting. So one thing that has happened is that John has updated the guidelines, changed the language a little bit to encourage safe driving. We'll have, there's quite a few rec committee members that will be down there at the start of the parade as well. And the second thing that we decided to do would be a sign-in sheet down there. So for the recreation department, we have a waiver sign-in sheet that I can create for the day, just to get people to be mindful in that moment as they're there lining up on the parade. Take that second to sign their name and put their phone number down on that sheet. One thing that it will definitely give us is their phone number if something happens. We'll know exactly how to get in touch with them. Although parties were spoken to, we were able to get in contact with last year. So that was the biggest focus of the planning for this year. So I feel like we'll work over that, and I feel like we'll be well represented down at the fire station as well. Constable will be at that end of Route 12. Also, state police will be at Three Corners for when we stop the traffic going both ways. I've gotten permission from Art Lines. We do that each year, just go through it to make use of the parking lot that Fast Trash is used for. The band will then line up on Bischoff. That keeps them out of the sun. The community band for marching, that gives them a little bit of shade, and they know where to hop in line. On a personal note, one thing is I would love to find some sort of a perhaps volunteer parade coordinator for next year. I think that would be nice for me. I've got all things going on behind the rec center with vendors, entertainers, musicians and such, people setting up, just be helpful not having to run circles around on that day. So just throwing that out there. First thing that starts off on Old Home Days, the tractor pull starts at 8 a.m. down behind the library. That's still Mike French, the New Hampshire Antique Tractor Club. We've got all kinds of vendors, lots of food lined up. After the parade, the community band will play under the tent right by the gazebo at 11 a.m. Jerry Grimo band will then play following them at noon. We will have a bounce house, the portable mini golf, if anybody saw that last year. The guy comes with like the little portable holes and stations. They will set that up there as well. Rec department will be doing our own little fair carnival style games. As well as the parent-teacher organization from the schools. We do some face painting and some little things as well. Carlos and Fry Daddies is lined up for 7 p.m. To play under the gazebo before the fireworks. We've got the extra porta potties in place. You wouldn't believe the cost of a one-day dumpster. So I did get a third quote. I got a better rate. I got quotes as high as $1,000 for a one-day dumpster for the 4th of July, the smallest dumpster that they have. Because I got my initial quote and I balked at it, and then I got a second quote and it was higher. But I got a third quote that was better. So that was nice, but I guess that just is how it goes these days with the hallway. One thing that did pop into my mind, just need to make sure BJ and the road crew are aware of the signs that they put up for the road closures. They usually put up some signs like the morning of, just for the road being closed. I'm not sure exactly what that entails, because that was something that Bill used to do. And they also stake off the parking down here on the big soccer field right across from Mike's. And then for the evening for fireworks, our local scout troop will handle the parking down at the big soccer field as well. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, just tell me again. So constable will be down here.
Constable will be on the, yep.
When the parade's finished.
Yep.
Where are the state police?
And the state police are at Three Corners.
But How many? Like one on Route
One.
5, one on Queechee?
It's usually just one troop.
I mean, from my own observations last year, I'm not sure if anybody was down there last year, but last year, the road to go up Route 5 North was still open, which is not the case this year, right? And last year, we had cars coming down Queechee Road and then kind of interrupting the parade to get onto Route 5 towards the highway.
Okay,
We also had some cars sneaking in Bischoff Lane and then trying to force their way down. So I think it's different this year. Maybe we need two, right? One on Queechee Road and one on Route 5.
yeah. Be good to check in with them, I'm not sure.
Good checking out with the sheriff.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we got a different trooper than it done in previous years, or perhaps
I
a
don't
last
remember-
minute.
I don't remember seeing anyone down there.
Yeah, or perhaps a last minute substitution of someone that did not have the notes for the day, something along those lines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, this year, Route 5 would technically be.
I can ask
completely
that question.
closed, right, which wasn't.
No, you should.
That's, that turn north was always open. Where does the parade stop? Where does it stop? Right here, right in front of Damon Hall.
Right, yeah, right at the corner. So cars can either then turn to go around.
Technically, it's up the road piece.
Yeah, they don't, most of the parade goes up Queechee and then back down
Correct.
Bischoff.
Bischoff, the tractors turn.
Tractors
It
go,
goes back down behind the library.
yeah.
Are we legally supposed to shut off Route 5?
It's a good question. We can, I don't know, I've not been a part of the planning process, but I can certainly jump in to make sure
That's
that we
like
are.
a V-Trans and a state police thing, I
Yeah,
think.
it's a state road, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we
can arbitrarily as a town stop it, but the state police can control it.
Yep.
Okay.
So we can make sure that we have all the appropriate signage and enough folks out there to make sure that we don't have,
I mean,
similar
last year it
incidents.
wasn't technically closed, you could still use it. This year, to use it, you
It's
could.
much different. Yeah, much different this year. And there was discussion last year, not that I'm opposed to it or whatever, about the number of cars that were in the parade, and just seemed like the parade was becoming just a bunch of cars. Is there anything different about it, or is this still the same?
It'll probably most likely be the same. The parade here in Hartland, when I first started here, it was anyone who could drive anything from a four-wheeler to a lawnmower with kids out there. And then the guidelines were modified by Bob Stacy to then you must have a driver's license, no ATVs, no lawn tractors. So the parade has turned into mostly fire trucks and antique cars and antique tractors. It's sort of tricky with like participation of floats and such. I'm a Woodstock graduate. I went to the alumni parade. I go every year, and it's smaller and smaller and smaller. It's like this was my 30-year graduation anniversary, and I can remember we all rode in the back of the wagon when we graduated, and the village was packed. There was, I don't even know, there couldn't have been maybe, there was 75 people on the green for the parade.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had any horses or heifers
It's
coming
the
down.
insurance. It's the
Insurance.
insurance that they have to have to bring their animals down. That's what I've heard is the difference.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Whose insurance? Our insurance?
As a horse owner.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. John, as you're talking about the cars and some of the behavior of the drivers of the cars, last year there was a young tractor driver with a narrow front end who was doing wheelie and circles right here in front of Damon Hall as they were about to turn right. And that was dangerous because little kids were there, and initially, everyone was saying, wow, and then all of a sudden people were kind of pulling back.
Yeah, that individual was spoken to, and that individual unfortunately was a part of the New Hampshire Antique Tractor Club. But I do know that Mike French addressed that and spoke to him personally.
Great.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
And thank you for all your efforts.
Yeah, it's a big day for Hartland, and
It happens no matter what.
But it's a huge draw. It's an amazing number
It
of
is.
people from towns like, towns 15, 20 miles away and they come here. I mean, it's like, they think it's the best parade in the area.
Yeah,
It's been written up, years ago in the New York Times did a little piece.
Oh, is that right?
Best local, 4th of July celebrations and we had a paragraph in there.
yeah, nice. It's fun. The transition that's been happening is from community organizations doing all of like the games and vendors, now transitioning more to commercial vendors. That's what the transition has been. I think that's kind of like what everybody's seen. Get tackled by like Krusty the Clown or something.
I encourage watching a video.
Just,
Yeah.
All right, that's it. I didn't know how to go.
There's less, well, fewer community organizations too.
No, the hill hoppers are still going strong. They'll be out there with snow cones, sausage, peppers, and onions. They still knock themselves out with everything possible.
And they're excellent.
Yes. Community oven will fire up as well. Pizza by the slice.
Is there still recognition for the best float?
We've got ribbons. I got
Okay.
that big box was that came in. I got country fair style ribbons.
The person announcing the parade does not want to make the decision.
So I think there's just one more item of business to cover related to this. Somebody should inform us, but Tancredi is expected to march in the parade.
We have not talked about that, and I was gonna bring that up.
This was not part of the.
Oh, it was in the fine print.
The Santa Claus.
With your Uncle Sam outfit on stilts.
Section 2, paragraph 3.
I believe I have the Uncle Sam costume in the Rexon closet.
Throw him on the fixed film.
Hey, what are you trying to say?
Okay, well, it's gonna be a 75-degree day and cloudy just for that hour.
Overcast. 95.
And no repeat of 1973. When roads flooded out after the parade.
So I just want to echo Tom's thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
So while we're on this, can we talk about, are we marching again this year?
Yes.
You have not formally said that.
We will march this year. I just found the sign
Okay.
and,
So we meet at Bischoff Lane.
right, and we cut in at some discrete
Yeah.
time. We don't want him to worry about starting at the town garages.
I think we should make that unannounced so they don't have a chance to plot, like throwing things at us while we go down.
The water guns are still there.
Right behind the Legion.
The super soakers are still around.
Right behind the Legion, right before
Just
the band.
make sure you check your insurance policies. Okay,
Vegetables, what do you want?
Thank you again, John.
thank you, John. Okay. Okay, so get ready for your marching attire and we'll figure all that out as we get closer. Oh, we are close. Okay, next item of business is the contract discussion and action for the Windsor County Sheriff. Last meeting, we assigned a contract for the Vermont State Police. And we suggested a few changes to the contract, and John was going to be working with Ryan, and it appears they've done that.
Yep, we've done that. And then also one of the other kind of discussions was to make sure that all the insurance was kind of on par with what we should expect. We did send it to PASIF with VLCT, and they came back and said, yes, it all checks out. So we have that. So there's the contracts. I should say, we've had a couple of law enforcement incidents in the past week or so, and they've been very responsive, very helpful.
Good. I think the only thing that's missing for me, and I don't feel it's a contract piece, it was a discussion point at the last meeting. I left the discussion that was focused on how do you contact the sheriff downright confused. I don't, if I ever need help, I'm assuming if it's an emergency, I'm going to dial 911.
Yes.
And someone's going to figure it out for me. But I think what we need to do is to possibly have on our website something about who's offering our policing services and how do we appropriately get a hold of them. Because I don't know if we, I really don't know. And I don't know how many direct calls we have.
You can't retrain people to not dial 911. And if it's an emergency, that's your first stop.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can definitely communicate with people via website.
Right. And I think Ryan and I can come up with some messaging.
All 911 needs to know is who's covering during what time, right?
Well, but they do not have, there's not a relationship between the state police and the sheriffs as far as 911 is concerned.
But I'm not sure that's true.
It is true. And I was established at the beginning of the committee work.
But I thought Mandy, when she was here, they said that they have a system that they understand. Yes. That we will never see. But they have
Okay,
a system.
so I don't want to get into a discussion because I'm not the expert and know it, but I want to clarify because Jim, I had one thought, you had one thought, and Tracy looked ready to have
Well,
her thought.
I do remember Mandy saying to us that it would be a good idea just to notify them. To say to them, okay, we're using the sheriff's department, we're also using state police still.
Right.
So a 911 call would go to dispatch, and then whoever's at dispatch should be notified to call the sheriff's department or the state troopers or both.
Right.
Right, in my understanding from last meeting is that they then would, in most cases, contact the Windsor County Sheriff if they knew they were under contract with us.
But it would be at that location that decision is determined.
I just don't want to confuse the whole 911.
Right. No. Call 911.
You call 911.
Absolutely.
And also, when we send our end of the year or the beginning of the year brochure out for our town report, that maybe we should put information in there about that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Where the numbers are, and on the website as well. Okay. Okay.
I make a motion. We accept the contracts dated June 17th with the Windsor County Sheriff's Department for a period of how long?
It's 1 year.
For a 1 year period, ending.
It's July 1 through July 1.
Yeah, to June 30th. So July 1, 2024 to June 30th, 2025.
Also,
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
And thanks, John. Nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
40 hours.
That is at 32. Vermont State Police is at 8 hours. Come in right at the budgeted number.
Well, small risk of goes over, but would probably be there somewhere else.
Correct.
We take it out of the finance department's budget.
We got all kinds of money.
Marlon squirreling stuff away.
All the money the rec department's going to have after we, whatever. Okay, the next item is our final update on this fiscal year's budget.
Not the final.
Before we get into amendments and so on.
This is on period 11. We got another month to go.
Right.
Yeah, but I won't update that one because the auditors will give us that update from October.
Can I ask you a question? I'm sorry if I already know the answer to this. The orders we just signed, is that already part of the study?
No, this is the end of May.
The end of May. So, okay. All right, thanks.
This is through the end of May. I will not do a budget update for June because the year end, the auditors are gonna do the update.
But this budget plus the 172,000, plus some more money to get to the end of the year. Is
Yes.
fine.
That's correct. Yes, we got 2 more payrolls to put into this budget. Three payrolls, including last week. So we got 3 payrolls. We got bills still coming in for the next 2 weeks, so we're probably looking at another 300,000 going into this budget.
So if you look on the column to the farthest right, like percentage of actual budget, we should be somewhere on the order of like 90%. You can see plus or minus where we are from that.
We're supposed to be at 92% through the end of May.
Okay, thank you, everyone, for, it is not the final budget, but is near.
It's near the final budget. When I know preliminaries from the accountants, I can
We'll get
obviously
the final when we get that truck.
let the board direct. Exactly. So we'll start with the general fund revenues. Page 1, if you go to the bottom of page 1, you'll see we're ahead by about $180,000. The big ticket items there, you can see that the interest on our CD this year, we actually made money. We got 72,000 more than we were expecting. That's pretty, and then under miscellaneous is the sale of the Weed Road property from the Colleys.
Yep.
So that's why miscellaneous is kind of out of whack from a normal fiscal year. If we go to page 2 of the general fund revenues, you'll see the rec department is ahead on the revenues again this year. The next category down is grants. We separated that 2 years ago because most of the grant money that comes in is expended, and the expenses show on the expense side, not on the revenue side. So we feel that this should be part of the true revenue money because it's spent as we get the money in. If you look on there, you'll see the MERP grant for $4,000. That bill we paid for $4,600. That's what constitutes that money spent to the open taxes. So as you can see, we're 110% over collection. We're at about rough estimate 180,000 for revenue overage this year. Any questions on the general fund revenues? The next page is the highway revenues. The highway revenue this year, as you can see, we are under what we expected because of the flooding in July. We didn't do the grants and aid project on Jennyville Road. We didn't finish it. We started it and we couldn't finish it because of the flooding. So it's short a little bit on the revenue side this year. The state paid us an extra $7,000 above what we budgeted for the year. So we move on to the general fund expenses. I can go through each department unless people have a question.
Actually, one question on constable.
Yes.
So the hours are down, right, which we expected.
Yes, correct.
But the mileage is the same, which surprises me.
Well, mileage went up 3 cents, 2.5 cents per mile for this year. So that's part of the increase. I can delve into that if you would like.
As long, I mean, it's your budget, as long as you're monitoring, you're comfortable with it.
Yeah, you can see when
Mathematically, but
right when we get the monthly reports, there will be days where the mileage is significantly higher than other days. So clearly they're doing a lot more traveling, and those.
To me, I read that as he's working significantly less, but the mileage is tracking almost the same as if he'd been working the allocated time. I'm not questioning whether that was curious.
Yeah, I think there's an easier explanation than that.
Don't worry.
As opposed to
I'm not questioning the principles.
yeah, as long as you guys are.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with the bills as they come in.
And at this point, we decided to keep the position of constable.
It's budgeted through the next year. We do expect to see a reduced number of hours as we.
It's budgeted, but it's also elected.
Correct.
So if nobody runs for it next time around, we won't have it.
Well,
I was worried
there's
about it
other
later.
things that they do besides policing, like a dog issue.
The constable does not do
I
dog.
also want to note that in light of a number of the things going on in the listserv, whatever we're paying our animal control officer is probably not enough.
We did give the animal control officer a raise recently as
But
well.
even, so just FYI for next year for budgeting purposes, as someone who has a small farm, there is nothing worse than dogs loose. No, they really, really wreak havoc.
Right, but that's,
And they kill a lot of stuff and then they run away. You can't shoot them. You can get a lot of trouble. And
Even on your
so,
own property?
you gotta be really careful. My point is that whatever this person, the control officer is doing, we just, need to have him stay on top of it because
He's
I
phenomenal.
really felt for those people last week on the listserv who were concerned about these dogs.
No, he's phenomenal. He's
Yeah,
incredible
and so-
last year with those dogs.
Anyway, I don't want to get into
Yeah,
it. I'm not trying to get into
Yeah.
it, but
Yep.
it's,
But that's a law enforcement issue.
it's,
so we'll have more of this discussion when we.
yeah, I just want to raise that so we don't forget.
That is correct. I think, yeah, there's a broader animal control issue, but yeah,
Yeah.
your point is noted, yeah.
Yeah,
We should be getting the warrant from the clerk shortly, shouldn't we?
Well, I have not seen it yet, so potentially shortly, yeah.
Well, I think it's as of June 1st, he's
Okay.
do it.
He's had
okay, thank you.
a few other things on his plate in June, but.
Yeah, he's been busy.
All right, so as you work your way down through, the general fund, you can see most departments are either under budget or fairly close to being at budget. There's really nothing that kind of sticks out.
It's the rec center maintenance.
So the rec center, we replaced, the basketball hoops, and they had to redo the tennis court in North Hartland. So that's the big expenses there. So that's the one that's looks way out. The hoops were like, I want to say like $9,000 for the two, or $6,000, somewhere in there. They're bigger than the previous ones. And then they had to redo the tennis court up in North Hartland. So that was unexpected.
Martin, on page 3, for the planning commission, we have the professional services. Will that carry over?
That will not carry over. That'll be part of, that will go towards a surplus for the general fund.
Okay, so how are we going to handle that if there are legal fees still?
So I got hold of I got hold of the planning commission, said I hadn't seen any bills. They sent me 3 bills for April, May, and June. I think it's about $2,800 to $3,200 is going to go against this when and we budgeted for next year. We didn't budget 15,000. I think you folks settled it. It was either $8,000 or $9,000.
Right.
Okay.
That you settled for next year. So when the legal bills come in next year, at least we have some coverage for them.
But we should not be spending much next year unless it decides for the
It's only for some.
Supreme Court or something like
Yep,
that.
exactly. Yes.
So a decision should be made fairly soon.
Do you want to insert anything?
We had a site visit, just as since we're talking about it. The judge made a statement at the end of it that was clearly, to me, seemed to indicate that mediation would be the expected action.
Yeah.
So we can expect recovery. I would expect that somewhat soon.
Yeah. And the survey for the planning commission plan they're doing turned out to be a whole lot less. We had people that helped out immensely. So that's why we didn't spend so much money in that department. I said, as you work your way down through, the rec department's gonna come in under, even with the, and the revenues are above, expected. But for the most part, most departments are under budget. The library,
That's the one more there,
Mhm.
page 6,
yep,
town garage supplies.
I'd have to look it up. I didn't deep delve
So
into
it's still in the budget.
And it's over by, what's 221% of.
Yeah, there's $8,400 in there. I'll have to look that up.
I mean, it's not critical, but
Right, no, but maybe something's categorized wrong, so I've been trying to go through all the accounts that are over budget and look at them.
We thought the chains had been miscategorized. I'm not saying that that's what this is, but we caught that recently.
Yep.
So
I'm reviewing all the accounts before the accountants go through them, so that way, I'll save time. So I will find
yeah,
out.
well, you know, just, you guys can look into.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
absolutely.
caught my attention as well.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, one more. I'm sorry, you guys, cemeteries, we don't have any money spent for tree cutting, but we did cut trees.
So that went to the highway department,
Oh,
because it wasn't in the cemeteries.
and incidentally, Tom, I don't know if you know this, I guess it's a separate discussion. We should probably have cemeteries on future discussions, but thought that you had referenced 3 trees.
Right.
Weed cemeteries.
So let's talk about it another time, but I have a feeling that we, as far as tree cutting is concerned, is we should probably leave it up to the town manager and so on to, let's appropriate the money. We can reach out to a couple of people, but it just seems as though it's difficult getting a committee to make that decision, with the end result being, we used to get, I think, $37.50 a year, and now we're not even using that. But there are a lot of trees that need to be cut, and at some point, there's gonna be a pretty big bill coming. So if we can't try to stay on top of this, so,
Put 10 grand in the budget next year and just start chiseling away at it.
yeah.
So if we go to the library, if you look at the library is about $15,000 under budget. Last year, the library.
What page are you on, Martin?
I'm sorry, page 9.
Okay.
The library is about $15,000 under budget. So the library, the way it works, if they have a deficit, they take it out of the reserve fund and pay the town back. If they have a surplus, it goes into that reserve fund. Last year, they didn't have enough money in the reserve fund. They had some, but not all of it. So that budget line will be fully expensed because I will transfer what we end up with for a number into their reserve fund. So if they go over budget in the future. So that's just an FYI.
And do you know, is there gonna be any major expenses between now and the end of the fiscal year, do you think?
I don't.
at the library,
Yeah.
not that.
Okay, so we should be, my point is, we should be able to make the transfer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we might be at 14,000.
Right.
Something like that. So if you look at the budget as a whole, we're at 92% through the end of May. On the sheet here, it says 88.62%. So as you can see, we're pretty much 3.5% below budget. I looked at the numbers today. The current month, year to date, we're 4.5% below budget. So we're, 6.5% below budget. So the general fund's going to have a surplus. I just don't really know where we're going to land. So we're going to end up.
Revenue has a surplus also.
Yeah, the revenue has a surplus. So we're going to end up with with the surplus here. We still have the money from ARPA sitting out there as a surplus. So we're going to be sitting on a pile of money when the auditors get.
Do we know the general fund balance roughly?
So
With the ARPA money?
Yeah, in theory, we have a general fund balance now, right?
No.
We're gonna spend some more of that, we go 300 grand, and then we're gonna have something left.
right, so right now we've spent $78,000 of our ARPA money. So we have about $950,000 ARPA money left. So that's all we have sitting right there.
Is it in the general fund? What's the general
It's
fund
in-
balance?
So the general fund balance, we won't know until the accountants get this done. I'm giving you a rough number of the current general fund balance. Right now, we know unencumbered is roughly 950,000.
980.
Huh?
980.
980,000. We spent 78,000.
So it's 980. But there's other money in the general fund as well, that'll shrink down as we spend money.
As we spend.
Surplus there, that'll go on top of
But I
that.
want to make it really clear, it's not restricted, but that is restricted general fund money
Yes.
for capital improvements.
Correct. It is not.
So let's
Right,
make it very clear to
yes.
people who are listening.
Yes, the ARPA
Yeah.
money is not just sitting in the
Right.
general fund
It's
for
waiting
everyday
for
expenses.
That's right.
Correct.
What we were expecting the Jennyville culvert to be 450,000, came in 200, roughly, so we're not really gonna spend much ARPA money there, so we're gonna have some
So we've
decent.
got $1 million of liability in the buildings.
Yeah,
Correct. And
Right.
we have less revenue than we have
Yeah.
capital expense.
Yes.
By a long shot.
I'm just trying to do the math in my head. It sounds to me like we're gonna be somewhere around 1.1 million available to go into these capital expenses.
Well, it all depends on what we want to do with just operating
the surplus, correct.
Because you can transfer the
Vis-a-vis
surplus to
our-
the bridge fund, the culvert fund, you could do some paving.
Right.
These are
Transfer it to
choices
the
that we
highway
have to-
fund and do paving, yes.
Okay.
But your math is correct.
Yeah.
That's about my expectation as well, but it's really 200 or so is the number of unencumbered money that could be spent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, onto the highway department. The highway department will be in a deficit this year because of the flooding. The FEMA money has not come in yet. John's been kind enough to keep reaching out for me to figure out what's going on. We can't figure out what's going on. So
this is not a Heartland problem.
this is not.
This is a state of Vermont problem.
Yes.
The answer is it's FEMA and they're going to pay us when they decide to.
When they choose to pay us. So the deficit we're looking at, I'm guessing it's gonna be around $100,000.
But no deficit if we
got paid by
FEMA got paid us in a timely manner. We
have no
wouldn't,
deficit.
we would
Probably
not have,
about
I just want to
2%
make that clear to people.
Yes.
But right now, you're only at 92% for the year.
Yeah, I looked at it today, it's at 98. I got 3 more payrolls going there. We got more expenses coming.
Always.
But if you could go to page 2 of the highway general fund expenses, food for thought. If you look at the equipment section, so the equipment section, we budgeted.
Hold on. You're too fast. Okay.
Equipment section.
Thank you.
We budgeted $324,000.
Right.
Included in that 324, we were hoping to transfer $149,193 to the equipment fund. At this point, we're looking at, I think my number was around $88,000 to go to the equipment fund.
If you want to bring that deficit to zero, you don't have 88,000.
That's correct, right. So,
Which would be an argument to transfer some of that general fund money to equipment, so we're not falling behind.
or you just do a bigger deficit in the highway fund.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are gonna put the same.
So I want food for thought for just, so what
We also have a lemon of a truck
Yes.
Yeah.
that we'll sure will come
Is
up
this
with.
an outlier? Are we under budgeting
So
equipment
part of this
fund?
was under budgeting for sure. We had more truck issues this year than we've had, so that's definite. The diesel fuel, as you can see, was above. Tires and tubes and parts, yes. I think we under budgeted on parts for sure. There's no doubt about it. The cost of stuff has gone ridiculous, and I don't think we caught up quick enough to it. So I just wanted the board to think about maybe sticking with the $149,000 193 transfer and the deficit. We still have $590,000 in the equipment fund before this close of this fiscal year.
Okay. But we would reduce it by the amount of the transfer.
That's correct.
So we're down to,
So
and what's our next big capital purchase?
10-wheeler.
How much is that?
We're still trying to get
But give me a ballpark.
I have no ballpark to give you.
I can't because of the trade.
I've not bought a 10-wheel dump truck before.
You haven't?
I have not. This is-
Write that down.
He has, but it was only this big.
Right, exactly. The Matchbox cars count, yeah.
In the bottom was cereal.
Yeah. $2.99, I don't know.
So just food for thought for the board to think about
Right.
on the equipment fund.
So, John, in all seriousness, for me to make that decision, it would be helpful to know ballpark back of the napkin, what the next purchase.
Well,
Because this is an accounting exercise we might be doing
right, well,
vis-a-vis.
it is, but, so say we only transfer the 88,000. We've short funded that fund now again. It only has 270,000.
but you also have the revenue miss that you get a balance up in there as well.
That's correct.
So 88 now becomes 66.
Right.
So
But
66 would go into beef up the equipment fund, which is probably not enough to keep pace with the plan. And there's a plan that's on a spreadsheet.
Right, that's what I'm getting at.
yeah, right.
So we probably have a decision, you guys will have to make a recommendation that says,
Yeah.
all this extra money in the general fund, 200 grand needs to go to the equipment fund for future purchases.
Right, because like Phil mentioned, we need to get another 10-wheeler. The 550 that's been in the shop intermittently over the past 6 months, I think is telling us something as well, that it's been in the shop for 6 months. Right, so there's two trucks, one of those trucks was not planned for at this point, potentially.
And instead of keep chasing the ball down the court, we have the funds surplus in the highway department. So we could transfer to the equipment fund.
Right.
Yes.
This goes here, this goes here.
Yeah.
You got
So
left
then-
for capital projects.
We hear you, we hear you.
Just waiting for the end of the fiscal year.
Thank you. So,
What's the resale value on some of these things anyways?
If they haven't run over a plotly, pretty good.
Well, the resale value on the one is good. We just have to get rid of, if we trade it in by December, we have good, because then we can, we're trading in with a year of warranty.
so I forgot, I did print, so the highway department is at 98.71% as of today. I have this month's. I forgot I printed it. The highway department is at 98, so they're definitely gonna be in a deficit. And the general fund, I was wrong, is at 93.4%. So I think the general fund's gonna end up at 95, 96. So I think the general fund's gonna be 4% under, and the highway fund's gonna be. So
But if we got our FEMA money, I'm gonna keep saying this, we
yes,
get our
if we get our FEMA
FEMA money.
money, our highway department would not be in a deficit spending. And on the general fund side, we budgeted 40,000 for an ordinance officer we didn't get, so there was a sort of a pickup.
Right.
Town manager, we didn't spend the full salary there, so that's part of the pickup. So it wasn't that we didn't do what we were supposed to with the budget. We followed the roadmap as you folks helped us put through, voted by the taxpayers. We just fell short with hiring people and
It's fine.
so.
Okay, any additional questions?
Good update. I feel like
Good,
I
thank you.
actually understand what's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm also glad we're talking about what to do with any surplus as opposed to a bunch of towns in Vermont right now.
Yeah, so that'll be a conversation in July.
we really need to get our trucks under control.
Trucks and potentially looking at additional maintenance.
We need people to drive those trucks. though.
Yes.
That is,
I'd rather have it sitting there and running than.
There's a couple of things, that I'd like to talk to you about. Like,
Sure.
Things like, is it necessary that Cream Pot has a 10-wheeler to plow sand when we could be using a 550 on that short stretch so that it doesn't get stuck and it's got 4-wheel drive, it chains on
It
the
wasn't
tires?
available.
Okay,
The
okay.
truck was in the shop at that time.
All right, that answers that.
Yes.
That's why we bought that truck to do cream pot.
Aha, okay.
yes, so I suspect there's answers to your questions, but yes, we can.
Why don't we throw up cream pot?
Somebody on the board accepted that road.
What, Cream Pot?
Is that you?
That's been
Was it you?
town road for 40 years.
Over?
It was class 4, and then some real estate agent told them, oh, this is a town maintained road, and they went to court, and we had to open it up.
Well, look at Rice Road. Rice Road was town road up to, 3/4 of a mile
40
long.
years
And then it
ago.
was a class
Yeah,
4.
down to
Low in the
Yeah,
middle
yeah.
of cream pot.
That's why the mail route goes right there. But we do have some one-cal roads, as Hiram used to call them, that we are plowing private driveways, basically.
Just keep going in the future.
Okay, we're getting into editorial comment.
Yes, let's not,
Yeah.
go down that road.
Yes,
Especially with private.
yes.
Okay, dear colleagues.
Next on the agenda.
We're moving on. We have a Conservation Commission appointment. Let's see, we have a short letter from Rob in front of us, asking to appoint Dan Nelson to the commission. I can speak to Dan's abilities. Do you have anything?
I didn't bring his application to, previously, for this director, but with the Dartmouth Outing Club, lots of career experience in the outdoors. And you can see from Rob's email, the Conservation Commission, enthusiastically makes the nomination.
Yeah. Dan finished his career after years in the dean's office at Dartmouth, being director of the outdoor programs. So it was a job that he really was excited to have, and it fit him, because he is truly a consummate outdoors person. We appointed Dan as a select board to the Connecticut River Joint Commission. Hopefully he's been doing that, and he was on our fire department for a little while. So
I make a motion that we ratify the recommendation from the Conservation Commission to appoint Dan Nelson. I don't know how long our term is.
Is there a second? Thank you, Jim. All in favor of appointing Dan to the Conservation Commission, say aye. Did you say yes? Okay, it's unanimous.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, John did some work on highway grants.
So Rita from Two Rivers met with BJ and I a couple weeks ago to kind of run over all the things that were happening, and it kind of prompted this discussion, just so the board has an awareness of all the things that are coming to us in the next really, year or two. So there's kind of 10 projects, 10 V-Trans related projects out there right now that you can see from this grant sheet. Two of them, the two in gray, are for the library. Those are projects that library improvements for $580,000. That was applied for. We haven't gotten word on that yet, but it probably has some component to it as it relates to the highway, because there's likely some ADA issues in the parking lot with curbing and paving and things along those lines, which is why it's included here.
Did you apply to any VEM money for highway related?
We have not applied for any of the open hazard mitigation grant program money yet. We certainly can. It's a matter of projects to do at this point. And to be perfectly honest, a little bit of capacity as well.
Capacity as far as administrative capacity?
Correct. I mean, you can see there's a lot happening if we just run through these. So project number 1, Hartland 3 Corners, that project is nearly done, right? We're hoping to be done by July 4th for sure.
Excuse me, could you have another column as far as amount spent or something like that? So
sure.
That just would give us an update of where we're at on something, like especially the 3 Corners project.
Right. So I can add that and send that. There's just going down the sheet, project number 2. That's the V-Trans Grants and Aid project that Martin referenced earlier, the one that didn't get done, the ditching along Jennyville Road. So we are finishing that. It's just section 2. There's a map that breaks down section 1, section 2. So that is continuing that project that was done. That's happening this August. We're likely going to have to rent an excavator and just kind of have a person and a dump truck out there, kind of doing that ditching and doing that stone lining. Skipping grant number 3, because that's the ADA audit for the library. Going down to number 4, the structures grant. That's a $200,000 grant that we got for the Jennyville Road culvert. That's happening in July 8th is the start date. So the board had originally set aside some potential ARPA money to cover it, because we thought it was going to come in the $400,000 range. The bid we accepted was $235,000 or so. So the grant plus what we had already committed to as match is going to cover the full cost of that project.
But did you say is it on here, the grant? Oh, it's in line.
Okay. So the project number 5, that's this year's grants and aid project. So again, there's no project identified, largely because we hadn't finished up last year's project. It will likely be continuing that ditching on Jennyville Road. Those grants and aid projects are to do stormwater management, basically. So that'll likely be out on that side of town as well. Grant 6,
Are we doing that internally, or are we gonna sub that out as well?
We either going to do it internally or use like a local contractor if we need to. It's just it's going to be a staffing issue for us because we're already in the middle of June. The V-Trans Small Scale Highway Safety Improvement Program, that's the grant that we got to do striping. I just got that award in the mail today. So again, we already know where that's happening. That's the end of Bowers Road. That's fog lines and stop bars. There was a desire, we're trying to coordinate that so we're not striping anything that will get paved. So
Makes sense.
right, so we're trying to plan that accordingly. The 2024 grants and aid project, again, you see that's an every year grant, $20,000 or so. There's no project identified. I believe we have until next year to do that though. So trying to keep something off of our summer agenda. Skipping project number 8, going down to project number 9. These project number 9 and project number 10, we just got these. These are potential grants that we are getting. We've been notified by the V-Trans district that they were selected for award. They still are in, Montpelier for final award notification. So we have not seen that yet. One is to do a Skimco, or essentially is that a little bit of work on the Brownsville Road for paving. I know it says Jennyville Culvert Engineering. Those are just backwards. So it's $260,000 or so to do paving on the Brownsville Road. From where it stops up to as far as that money gets us towards the town line. And then the structures grant will be for the culverts, doing the engineering work for the culverts at the corner of Jennyville and Densmore, the old stone culvert there.
But that's just for engineering.
That's just for engineering.
If we actually want to do that culvert.
We could use the engineering report to apply for hazard mitigation grant program money, which Tom just referenced.
Okay. And then just, maybe this is on your list.
Yeah.
2 observations. We got an awful lot of projects in flight. I mean, it's, with this and the building and everything else, just something we need to consider about how much we can have in progress in one time, I think, for the bandwidth issues.
So, so we're coming to the end of the federal largesse. In 2026, it's going to be over. We're going to go back. I think we should take advantage of as much as we can. And we need to hire people to manage the grants on our behalf or to do any of this. I think we should go for it. We can get some extensions and things like this, but to say we don't have capacity, and this is nationally that everybody's complaining about this, take advantage of it because it's coming. I mean, we have a significant deficit in the federal government and we're done. Yeah. And so we can ask Two Rivers. I can give you names of consultants that would help us to write grants. I mean, there's lots of ways to do this.
I'm with you 100%. We gotta get every dollar we can.
Yeah. Because
it's a lot of projects when you start throwing the building projects.
Sure. Sure.
So it's just something that I think we need to be aware of so that we don't overtax the system.
Yeah. John can work 80 hours a week. That's what he told me. That's okay. So if he can ride his bike, he's good. And Martin said he would do 65.
Maybe one for a future year, because we're gonna have to do maintenance work on the newer of the 2 Mill Street bridges. Right? And that could be, I think they have a program, right? Kind of like
there's a bridge. There's a bridge program for.
So I'm talking more about infrastructure, sort of one-time infrastructure, capital improvement kind of stuff.
Yeah, and there's and I'm glad you brought it up. The hazard mitigation grant program. So federal disaster, FEMA comes in and says, here the disaster costs X amount of dollars. 15%, I believe, gets set aside for this hazard mitigation grant program. So we've had multiple kind of very significant statewide disasters. There's a lot of money out there right now, which is why doing the engineering work for that next culvert on Jennyville is important, because then we can do it. We can say, here's this project, it's ready to go. We've done the legwork on it. If there are other things out there like that, those are the projects that we're really looking at.
That makes total sense.
Yeah. And even smaller culverts, I mean, we got, you drive around, like I ride my bike around town and stuff. You can see these, a lot of culverts need some work.
There is.
You know, I don't know where this fits. We still have an issue on Brownsville Road where it was damaged during the flood and there was temporary fix there, right? But we haven't.
There's that one, there's a big project further up, almost at the town line on the Brownsville Road where,
Yeah, that's the one.
at the very top, though, that one's.
Right, we did a minor fix on that.
That one, I've made some phone calls about trying to find appropriate funding for that as well. So.
Yeah, I agree with everyone that we can't create a stalemate with John not being able to sort of handle all the projects. But should there be outside resources, that seems to be the way to go to reduce some of the things that he's doing, and he becomes the manager of those resources. Second is we have an inventory of our roads done by Two Rivers from some time ago. It tells us which roads we need to ditch in order to meet the 2035 standards or 2025 standards. So, yeah, there's work that we can do, and I like the idea of staying in touch with Two Rivers to see what their capacity is to do some of the.
Two Rivers, and I'll just mention they have Tom General as well, who's been so hugely helpful.
Okay,
and continues to be.
I just, let's give John the resources to be able to at least apply. We can always turn the money away. We needed to, which I don't think we're going to.
Sure.
And a lot of this is federal money, and so it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And you can get extensions after extensions. So my point just is, let's just be aggressive. Because there's a lot of grant fatigue out there. This is what I do for a living. There's just a lot of towns that are sick of FEMA, they're sick of all this stuff. They don't want to do it anymore.
Right. No, there are hoops that you have to jump through, but if they're willing to give us 75% of the cost of a new bridge or a new culvert, then those hoops are worth it to me.
And once they give you the grant, how much time do you have to fulfill?
Depends on the grant.
It depends. Normally,
3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So there is time, but a lot of these are projects that we would largely not we're not going to be doing them ourselves. But there is I think to the point Tom's making is that there's still a cost to the town in terms of managing the grant, but also the fiscal management of the grant, but also the project management. There's a time component as well.
So, and we're all very aware we have two large projects that one, the rec center, that we have a preliminary architectural study. We don't have the final engineering study, and we're awaiting the results of the Quechee Road engineering study.
Right.
We've used ARPA monies to do those studies, but now those two projects are prime for any of these monies that are out there.
Correct. And just one last note, I think this was really informative. I want to make this as informative for you. These are road projects only, not to mention everything else that's happening within the town.
Right.
These are the open road grants and road projects.
But that's the federal focus is on roads and flooding.
Yeah.
So if you make a connection between flooding and roads, there's money.
So question about paving on Brownsville.
Yep.
Is that just going to be resurfacing, or are they going to dig up and?
It is going to be probably just resurfacing, for $260,000. It's not a lot of.
The Band-Aid on it.
It is absolutely a Band-Aid fix. The intent being it's going to buy us 5, 7, 9 years before, so we can plan and start to setting aside the resources we need to do the full project. It's absolutely just a Band-Aid project.
So I guess this is the first time I heard about Brownsville.
No, we've been talking about it.
We've been talking about Quechee Road.
No, we've been talking about Brownsville.
This is the class 2 road grant that the town is not from the V-Trans district that's available every year. The town does not have a strong history of raising their hand for dollars. So when I met with the V-Trans district engineer, this is what came up because we only have 2 class 2 town roads, right? We have the Quechee Road and we have Brownsville Road.
Okay.
The idea.
So it's money specifically for
Yeah,
class two, it's specifically for class two. Right.
So roads like Clay Hill and.
No, class two only. And given that the Queechee Road was under assessment, at this time, it wasn't the right time to use this money for that project.
generally it's a 2-inch, right? Overlay.
Yeah. So I mean, it's gonna buy us some time, and then we have the study coming this fall from Everett to really look at prioritizing road maintenance moving forward in the long term.
Right, I forgot that's out there.
I thought years ago, Clay, we had state aid 1 was Brownsville, state aid 2 was Queechee, state aid 3 was Clay Hill Road. Somewhere that disappeared.
As far as I'm aware,
Back on old highway
that's a
maps.
class 3.
Clay Hill's
That's a class 3.
because
I don't know what, I mean, just the terminology you're using, that's from years ago when they used to call them state aid roads.
class 2 roads are generally roads that connect two towns. Right. So it makes sense that these two roads that we have, Clay Hill, it does not necessarily is not a town connector.
Is he leaving? He left his phone.
No, I'm just back.
Okay, so we've been talking about highway grants. Let's go on to the next agenda item, which are actually 2 buildings, the Damon Hall and Rec Center. We have some bids that have been returned, and I'll turn to John to read us through.
So what you have are the 2 bids that we received for the RFP we put out for the Damon Hall and the Rec Center. You all back in the spring, from the cost estimate report we got from JASW Architect for Damon Hall and the Rec Center, authorized moving forward with essentially the drainage projects. It was projects 1, 2, 3, and 4 at Damon Hall. So again, the retaining wall, getting the water away from entering the building there, and project 5 at the Rec Center, again, specifically the drainage work. Those 5 projects from the cost estimate was about $260,000. So what you see are the 2 bids that we got back, one from JP Trucking and one from Isaac's Excavating.
A difference in cost.
There's quite a difference in cost. I would say one has significantly more relevant experience than the other.
So their bids are close to the same, but the cost is much less than one.
Their bids are
Their bids aren't close.
in terms of work products.
The first one was, 100, oh, never mind.
132 versus
I thought it was 172.
Yeah, 132 and 189.
Okay.
Did we get any local contractors?
No, these are the only 2 that we received.
Okay.
Again, it was clear in the RFP that we expected the work to be done this summer, and this went out a little bit late in the year.
The estimate we got from the engineers was
257.7 was the cost estimate from the architect for this work.
Do you have a recommendation for us putting you on the spot?
It would be my recommendation that we go with the bid from Isaac's based on their drainage work experience.
I think it's worth $50,000 more.
I have not. That is my recommendation based on just looking at the 2 bids and reviewing them. I have not made phone calls on either company. So what I can do is call they both provide, references. We can make a few phone calls I can make a few phone calls to those references.
And is there expiration date of this?
I don't believe so, no.
I'm sorry, I didn't look, spend a tremendous amount. Where was the big differences in the cost? Did you know?
So the way they break it down, it's unclear to me where the big price differences are because the way they present the information is different. So it was not easy to make like an apples comparison.
I concur. I mean, I looked at them pretty closely, and JP Trucking gave us a whole lot of information, but not cost associated with all those detailed steps. And Isaac did give cost per step.
Right.
Yeah. So can we consider based on John checking some references to go with Isaac's? Or do we want to?
And I'm flexible. It's really, how, do we need to approve it tonight? Or
We do not, given that the next meeting is July 1st, I think we have time to,
the next meeting's like, so.
the next meeting will be book solid. I think squeezing something like this on the agenda would be relatively straightforward though.
It seemed like JP Trucking did a lot of flood work, and which is not quite as sensitive as what we're trying to.
That's
not the right word, but you know what I'm saying.
Right. Delicate.
Yeah, delicate. Thank you. Yeah.
And then this is one of those projects specifically, just like we were talking about, that I will probably pass off to Tom General to manage.
Okay.
He sent me nice photos of, him atop, him in Glacier National Park saying, what can I do to help? And my response wants to say, stop sending me these photos of you,
exactly,
in this wonderful place. So I can make a few phone calls. I can check the references with Isaac's, and we'll make a decision at the July meeting.
Okay, folks comfortable with that? Okay, Tom.
Yeah, I was looking at Trace because he's our sort of a resident construction expert, whether he has any.
Utilized either one of these two contractors.
No, they're not from around here. So.
Why? I wonder why we don't have any local, close local contractors.
So the way the RFP was written did require folks to do a little bit of legwork, deciphering the engineering plans and coming up with a plan to solve it. It was not a clear, we want to replace this culvert with this culvert. So they had to do a little bit of legwork. And again, I think it was also the time constraints that were put in the RFP that we want the work done this summer.
Right. So you look at, so unfortunately, you put a time constraint on a contracting company. You're looking for somebody that's not busy. That's the unfortunate part about this. So if they're not busy,
or they have a lot of capacity. Or they have a lot of capacity.
Or they're pretty big, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, we're ready to move on. Okay, good. Let's move on to town manager update.
Okay, so relatively short this evening. As always, we'll start with highway trucks. The 550 is back from Dalton's Automotive. It was driven from Dalton's Automotive to the town, and then the next 2 days later brought to Claremont Ford. It essentially doesn't have a third gear. So this is the truck that the transmission was replaced in by Claremont Ford. They are taking it apart to determine if the work would still be covered under the warranty, which had expired in May while the truck was not in our possession, while it was at Dalton's Automotive. So the transmission's out of it. They're going to work with Ford to see if it is covered under the warranty.
Okay. What about the diesel emission fuel DEF problem?
It's my understanding that right now the DEF filter was either, I don't speak diesel mechanics, either bypassed or taken out to make the truck drive properly.
No, we can't have that. That's an EPA required.
I think they just wanted to move it, and then they're going to put it back.
Let's hope.
So we can put a finer point on that. Yeah. The 550, yeah, the red truck. Yeah. Yes. So it continues to be. This is a 2019, 18. It's been problematic.
Yeah.
I've been here for 5 months and I've seen it once. So, yes, I think there's an acknowledgement that we might want to consider trading it in before it is due to be traded in.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, but we do need that style truck. That's the truck that gets used to pull the chloride trailer to, hydroseed, things along those lines.
Do the small roads too, right? in the winter.
Yeah, in the winter, that's the one that drives over the covered bridges in North Heartland, things like that. No, sorry, that's not one. That's the other one. That's
the drive.
yeah.
We have nothing light enough to drive over the bridges.
Speaking of the bridges, just so we're all clear, the next meeting, July 1, is the public outreach meeting. Notifications been put on the website. We sent mailers specifically to all property owners on the north side of the bridges, like 6 or 8 of them. We'll do some more very targeted outreach to folks in North Heartland as well. 3 Corners, potentially by the skin of our teeth, the poles are going to be pulled by Green Mountain Power on July 2nd. So done by the 4th of July, which was what the board had requested. So that is, kind of barring weather constraints and other things. For those that might not be aware, there was an incident with one of the fire trucks at a call a few weeks ago that damaged the truck and damaged a house. It's all being covered by insurance, so it's engine one of the kind of slide up doors was damaged, but they were able to kind of salvage some pieces from other trucks and put it back together. So engine one is back in operation now. So again, our full complement of fire trucks is in operation. We're still waiting for the forestry truck though. And that is actually it for me. Pretty straightforward. Second, trucks is a recurring theme.
Oh my God.
What's in staff?
Yeah, it's staff. Thanks for mentioning that. We put the job ad out on Indeed. It's been on the VLCT classifieds. It went in the Valley News. It went on the Vermont Standard. It's going to go back in the Vermont Standard for another week.
Is this for Bill's position or the?
This is the highway crew position. When we've had no applicants from any of our.
And what about Bill's position when that went out?
So right now, BJ is filling the road foreman position. There's no. BJ is going to continue to fill that position.
Oh, okay. Yeah, got it.
So we're starting to kind of explore all of our avenues.
What about a temp agency?
It's challenging. I've not contacted a temp agency. But this week in particular, with vacations, we're pretty short-staffed. So if you see me baking culverts, it's because there was a reason.
We're totaling 550, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I want to see it graded.
I don't think you want to.
I think you'll be really impressed.
I don't think
Your road.
Yeah. I don't think we want.
What is the policy? I don't understand that because what's the policy like if you decide to buy a new truck? Do you guys take out a loan on?
Generally speaking,
That's how you do that.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't like pay cash for the thing, just go buy it, right?
We don't have.
We've bought them for cash. It's rare that we finance. We financed the bucket loader, but the last 2 10-wheelers, we had enough money in the equipment fund.
And do you have to buy new?
I use, but there's nothing out there. You buy used, you buy another F550 that we got here.
Yeah, it depends on the year and make and all that.
Yeah, I mean, when the truck went to Claremont Ford, for example, it came, DJ came back and was like, there's a nice looking F600 dump truck sitting on the lot right there.
Yeah.
So these are the questions that we have to talk about. What we don't know is whether the truck can be essentially salvaged, and do we want to continue to own it?
Right. So the budget, we fund an equipment reserve fund every year. We throw, like this year, we hoping to put 140,000 into that equipment reserve fund. So we pull the money out and buy something. Do we know what the balance is?
I think it's 270.
270 balance, correct?
So Trace, there are these funds that are being built up for fire trucks and town trucks, and I'm kind of a plan that they should be replaced in 2025 and 27 and so on and so forth. So we should get you that spreadsheet.
We should probably all take a look at it when you
Right.
guys.
Yeah, sure. Just for this conversation though, we were planning to purchase a new 10-wheel dump truck. Because again, with the one, it has a year of warranty left, so our resale value on it is higher, trading value on it is higher. So we should continue to do that so we don't get stuck with an older truck down the line. We don't have budgeted to do 2 trucks at the same time. So that's the issue we're kind of running into right now.
Okay. Any other questions for John? Okay. We have future agenda items. We've already talked about the July 1st meeting. With the talking about the 2 North Hartland bridges and presentations about those. With the dog ordinance, capital plan, and listers discussion hanging out
I
there.
think we still need to add the
Cemetery, and then and I have one other one for you. The conflict of interest policy that we have has not been signed by we don't have a signed copy of it. We have minutes that it was approved in 2018, I believe. So it'd be nice if we just revisited it, had the current board sign it. So we don't need to change anything within it, but.
Okay, great. Is there any correspondence, John?
There is, we had a letter from the Vermont Department of Taxes notifying that the town that our education grant list falls outside the parameters for the COD, or the coefficient of dispersion, and therefore we are required to reappraise.
Shocking news.
My understanding that we received this letter at around the same time last year as well. So this is, yeah.
So should we write back and say, great, send us some appraisal?
Right, exactly. Right.
Yeah. So I think that's
Is there any or else?
There is not any or else's in here.
Okay.
Just a kind of generic.
Yeah.
Upon further review, you don't meet these standards, therefore.
I'll say that's shocking too.
So that is the correspondence. If you would like to look at it, you're welcome to.
Okay, we do have
Well, what we're talking about is Martin, now that the legislature's done their veto section and so on, can you sort of figure out taxes and so on? No.
Because we didn't vote, because our school budget didn't pass at the normal time, so they need 30 days from when the budget passes. The budget passed last Tuesday.
But you know the amount.
We won't know for 30 days. The budget's good. The budget passed last Tuesday. The state, it goes to the state, they do their magic a couple of days after the.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's not just because it's passed doesn't mean it's
Right.
so
set in
yeah,
stone.
roughly the end of July is what we're talking.
Correct, mid-July, yeah.
You're shaking your head, Cheyenne?
Yes.
You're shaking your head,
That's
yes?
from,
This one. I don't think.
when we had our,
It was supposed to be.
Mallory meeting, Jill Remick from PBR was essentially saying the same thing, 30 days, and then it takes them,
2 or 3 weeks.
a couple of days to process.
Okay.
And the next bill's in August? When's the next tax bill come up?
September. We have to have the tax bills in the mail by August 13th, but the governor still hasn't passed the budget for FY26. But they haven't passed the budget, so we gotta get the budget passed by June 3rd.
Well, they had the veto session today, so everything's done.
So I didn't see.
Is that the last-
So the yield bill
The yield bill
was overruled.
Overruled, right, but the budget itself hasn't been passed, hasn't been signed by the governor.
No, okay, fine. No. Okay, and full disclosure, I mentioned this to Martin, is depending on what the impact might be, whether we would extend an additional payment for taxpayers in town. I know it might be very, very costly to the town, but I just don't know.
You mean to go to 4 payments
Or 3 or 4, whatever it might be, but I just don't know what kind of impact this is going to be on.
Yeah, I'm trying to plan for it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no,
We're on 94 at this point.
It's been,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think, I
Okay.
guess we just recognize, being sensitive.
I think that's a very good discussion, and then if you guys would chew on that a little bit to see what the impact would be, that would be good. Okay, we have an executive session this evening. I don't believe there's going to be any action. Okay, so we could adjourn this meeting and make a motion to go into.
Make the motion, we can't adjourn until later.
You can't adjourn the actual meeting until after executive session.
Right, okay. Is the number that's there, the number that we need to make a motion?
That is correct.
Okay. Someone care to try
I'll
to,
make a motion that we enter executive session pursuant to one V.S.A. 317C7.
Second that.
thank you. All in favor, say aye.